Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Solana Fellowship Kickoff call. First off, congratulations to making it to the Solana Fellowship. I know that the criteria and the process itself was extremely selective. So, this is awesome to see all of you having made it and be able to go through this entire period of fellowship with us. And in today's kickoff call, I'm actually not going to take much time. I just want to quickly welcome you all and also show you a little bit about what kind of content support is there for you throughout the fellowship, right? So, just to introduce myself, hi everyone, my name is Gyan. And I work as the research and content lead at Questbook. I help research on different protocols and what could be the gaps that we could bridge from a Questbook end in order to help these protocols succeed. We are right now building a grant orchestration tool that will help bridge the gap between the protocols that are trying to give grants and the community or the group of individuals who are interested to work on these grant proposals. So we are helping bridge the gap by working with both the protocols and helping them onboard the tool as well as the community, helping them with the proposals, etc. Personally, I have over 6 years of experience in the blockchain space. I have primarily worked with EVM based blockchains, so Solana and blockchains like Solana and Near, which require some Rust knowledge, are quite intriguing to me, and I'm definitely also in my learning phase and happy to assist you however possible. All right. I know I don't have to pitch why Solana. You are here because you're interested in learning about Solana and building dApps on this. But just to reinforce that Solana has over 50,000 to 65,000 transactions per second compared to the other popular EVM-based blockchain, which is Ethereum. One of the blockers for folks to build on Ethereum has been the transaction speed for sure. Of course, there is the popular low gas fees that is being offered by Solana, and this is also an important factor that is slowly seeing the migration of a lot of dApps, or rather, even creating an entirely new and dynamic ecosystem on Solana. Let's talk about what's important for you. So, as developers, of course, there is lots of scope for developers to build on Solana, be it DeFi, be it NFTs, or be it your metaverse ecosystem. Since Solana is a new and upcoming blockchain, being probably less than 2.5 years operational already, it has garnered a lot of attention, a lot of success, and there are also a couple of really cool dApps, especially this one that I kind of saw very recently, Audius, right? Unleash Your Music. So things like these being built on Solana, right? I see a lot of audio NFT projects being built on Solana. Recently got airdropped an NFT invite for one of them. So there are a lot of, especially in the NFT space, there are a lot of niche areas that are being explored right now. One of them is definitely audio NFTs, I would say, as well as fractional NFTs, and of course, metaverse and gaming are coming up, where having a blockchain with higher transactions per second as well as lower gas fees definitely going to help. So yeah, so what's most important is for you to have a lot of scope to build and explore on Solana. Now, of course, how can we help at Questbook, right? That's why I'm here, of course. So we have our build on Solana track on openquest.xyz, which is tailored to help folks get onboarded onto Solana. We have a lot of quests which are we have quests which are beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels. I know some of you might have already played around with the quest or even completed some of them. Could be that some of you might have completed all of them, which is amazing. But these quests are, let me just talk about the quests a little more. So why the quest, and what is going to be your experience with us at from a content perspective, right? So the quests are built in mind, keeping that you will have a hands-on experience while doing the quest, right? So right from creating your own accounts, to being able to fund your accounts using airdrop, to being able to create your own cryptocurrencies using JavaScript or using the command line, to being able to write your first ever Solana smart contract in Rust, and to being able to build complex things like NFT marketplaces using Metaplex. All of these are covered under our Quest umbrella. So we have the basics, we have intermediate quests, and we have advanced quests as well. These quests for the fellowship are going to be grouped theme wise. When I say theme wise, I also mean difficulty wise. So, of course, you might have gone through some of the Rust material that is already shared with you. Um, there are two things that I want to highlight when it comes to the flow of the fellowship. One is that it is okay for you to not have lot of expertise in Rust. As you're going to go through the quests, you're going to get a flow of how things work. And one of the other things around the Solana ecosystem is that many components, for example, building a marketplace, or minting your NFTs, or uploading your NFTs to IPFS using RV, all of these components, many of them are already bundled in the form of packages and available to you, so that you can just start building on top of them. But it is important also to understand a little bit more about these underlying components and how they work, right? Because the moment you clone a Metaplex and start working with it, unless and until you just walk through the Metaplex code a little bit and figure out how it is built, at some point in time when you're stuck or when you're lost, you will not be able to progress further. So definitely that's how the quests are built, to ensure that you can build you can start building right away, right on top of the existing ecosystem. But I personally suggest you to also walk through the existing infrastructure a little bit and understand how it is written. Now, coming to the theme wise, or the grouping of the quests have been grouped in such a way that they are incremental in terms of the difficulty level, as well as incremental in terms of the concepts that you would learn. So initially we have quests which are very simple quests. For example, we have quests which are like how to learn how to build a crowdfunding platform, or how to deploy. Okay, crowdfunding is slightly higher, but I'm going to start from how to deploy a program onto Solana, right? How you can create an airdrop program using Solana Web3.js. The create a roulette game is actually teaching you how to do your first transaction on Solana, right? So these are simple programs that are categorized together. Then you will come on to probably a more complex ones using, say, for example, cryptocurrency ones. So create your personal token using Solana, create your personal Solana wallet, create your personal token with Rust smart contracts. You can see how they are incrementally difficult, right? And then think of NFTs, right? So for the NFT ecosystem, create your own NFT minting machine and website using the Metaplex version 2, right? So there are the quests, so, or create and burn NFTs on Solana using only Web3, right? So the NFT based quests are clubbed together, your cryptocurrency and DeFi based quests are clubbed together, your basic quests are clubbed together. So I would suggest to go through these quests also in an incremental manner. So as you work with these quests of a specific topic, you are able to cover all the bases that are required to get through that topic. For example, for NFT, do the basics first, and then do the complex marketplace ones, and then also try to build on top of that. Don't just stop at the quest, right? So that's the idea. Um, oops. Apart from the quests themselves, there is one thing that I did not put in the slide, are the exercises. For every week, you have an exercise or a group of exercises. I would suggest, so these exercises are little, I would say, ad hoc, as in you may not see them being linked as one single project, but I would still suggest to do these exercises, because those exercises will enforce the concepts of that week. So you can just try to, basically whatever you're learning that week by doing the quest that you're doing, you just need to club all that learning and probably add on a little bit in terms of critical thinking, and you will be able to work with these exercises. Many of the exercises in the initial weeks that I have given, several of them are based on solidity by examples, but of course you will have to write the contract on your own, which would be the challenge that you will have to overcome. I have created a couple of tips and tricks that will help you navigate through these courses. You could see them, save them, and you will probably come across them while building your dApps as well. These are just generic tips and tricks, and these are some things that I faced as well when I was doing a lot of these quests repeatedly. And I would say that these are like, you will be able to, probably not something that you will think of as the first step of solution. Just something to, keep in your mind that this could be a potential issue. Now, the first thing that I have written is that some of the libraries like Anchor could take longer to install. So I would suggest to prepare your time accordingly, because you want most part of your available time of the day to be able to actually do the exercises or to be actually able to work on the logic. So prepare your time in the day accordingly, or your time in the week accordingly, so that you get through all the installations in the time when you're free or when you're doing some other work. You can just put these up, all the exhaustive libraries for installation, so you can save time and work on the logic part of the things. There are some commands that are there in the quest that may not run as per desired or end up throwing an error. That does not mean that the command in the next step will not work. For example, this command Solana account and my address that I had created in the previous step, for me, did not run for several times that I tried the quest or tried building something myself. This command just did not run for me. Seems like it was successful for a couple of other people who solved the quest, but for me personally, it just kept failing over and over again. But initially, when I tried doing this, the step after this, I did not even go to the step after this because I thought that it's not going to work. But I was able to do the step after this, which was the airdrop step. So I would say that there are some commands, and this is just a generic tip, right? If there are some commands that are not running on your terminal, try to either check if it is dependent on your local net or devnet, or what is the network that you have chosen. And if it is local net, is your local blockchain running? Is this command dependent on the running of the chain? And if not, and if it is not running also, just skip it and go to the next one, because in some cases it's possible that it may not run, but the next one may run, right? So try that out. There could be some small capital case issues in the contracts in the quests. Most of it has been fixed by me, but in case you do come across something like, for example, a variable account is in small case in some places and in capital case in some places. If you're using an intuitive editor like Visual Studio Code or something, it is likely to give you the error that this is an error and your program did not proceed after this. But if you get some errors like this, be mindful of that. It is sometimes these trivial things that we overlook, and our program ends up not compiling. One of the things that helped me, especially uh, with the commands, some of the commands that were errorsome or worrisome, was being able to rerun them certain time. So rerun the commands, and you should be able to or just wait for some time and then rerun it, and some of them would work at certain points in time, right? So you will just have to have some patience. And I also recommend that if you are running the local blockchain on your system, ensure that you are not running anything else that is too like CPU heavy and stuff. This was an issue that I faced multiple times, that I was sometimes trying to run something which is very CPU heavy, or just experimenting with some other blockchain nodes, and it was just causing havoc when I was trying to run the quest commands related to the local blockchain. So if you are if you are running a local blockchain and some of the commands are not working, some of the commands are just throwing up some error which you don't understand, then I would suggest to restart your local blockchain, right? If you're using the local net. And one of the other, the last but not the least tip or trick is that be very, very mindful of what network are you connecting to. Because sometimes it's possible that you are configuring local net in your config, whereas you're connected to devnet or betanet. You're configuring devnet and you're connected to local net, vice versa. So this could cause a huge issue in terms of how you are looking to run your programs or how you're looking to compile your contracts, right? So yeah, double check the network that you're connected to and the credentials specifically that that particular network is set to. Sometimes it's not while you are compiling, it's not able to find your local key, right? And that could throw up an error. That would not help your program get deployed on chain, right? Because you need an account and you need the local keys for that. So ensure that the credentials, the user credentials that you have set, you are also familiar with them. Couple of more sanity checks, like check the balance of your account through which you are deploying the contract on chain. Ensure that you have all the libraries installed when you are running the repos which are having both front end, back end, and contracts put in together, right? Now, before we close, I want to share the course content document very quickly. I want to walk through this. So all right. So your week 0 is really all about getting ready. There are a lot of Rust programming tutorials. There is a YouTube playlist that has exhaustive Rust programming tutorials. There is a playlist that has very small kind of snippets of videos that is helpful in running Rust. And I highly suggest to go through a couple of exercises on exorcism, where you can just solve some problems on topics where you are not that comfortable with Rust. So this is obviously showing up my dashboard, but you have a lot of different topics like functions, you have structures, which are commonly and frequently used, right, in Rust. You have macros, which are again used in contracts, right? Then you have conditional statements, you have hash maps. So these are some topics that you could probably go through, right? And then whichever you feel like you are not that comfortable in Rust, you should definitely do some programs. Maybe just pick one or two programs and do them, right, from exorcism. Now, especially the ownership is a very unique and different topic in Rust. The way the scope of the variables moves in and out of Rust is very important and would play a critical role in the way your program runs, in the way your program accesses variables, accesses memory to those variables. So I would say these are a couple of topics that are non-negotiable, at least to understand the basics. You don't have to be a master coder, but to understand how these topics function with respect to the different data structures would be really, really helpful. The first week is about getting started. So learn how to build on Solana. Some of the introduction to Solana quests would be a part of this, deploying your first ever program, creating your personal cryptocurrency using the CLI. So just playing around with this would be helpful. And these are not going to be Rust heavy, or these are not going to be contract heavy. These are just going to be very, very basics of getting you, set up with Solana, how to run your local net, or and how to deploy your program, how do you generate a program ID, and what is the significance of that. And then of course I would also suggest to utilize this week to strengthen your Rust basics as much as possible. Week 2 onwards, we are diving into the whole ecosystem, and we are trying to work with the contracts part of Solana. We are trying to work with the logic part. So we have a roulette game, which is again creating your basic transactions, create an airdrop. So these are very mini, I wouldn't even say dApps, just mini programs, right? That is going to help you get comfortable with Solana. And then you have your first ever exercise, which is to create a simple voting contract in Solana. If you come from an Ethereum background, then you're already familiar that voting contract is one of the most popular contracts on the Solidity by example. So this is a program that I would suggest you to write. It might be slightly overwhelming at week 2 to be able to do this program end to end with delegates, but I would 100% encourage you all to attempt this. The third week is all about gaming. So you have a calculator, simple calculator, crowdfunding platform, setting up campaign accounts, right? Now, the payment channel is actually not a gaming exercise, but a good exercise at this point in time for you to understand how signatures would work, how signing would work in a in a blockchain context, right? Now, for every blockchain that you're working with, there might be different ways to deal with signatures, different ways to deal with messages, right? But this signature and signing a message is a very, very important and core concept of a blockchain. That's why that particular exercise is falling under week 3. So this is where you have to work on creating a bi-directional payment channel in Solana. You have the actual contract in Solidity. So you have to try and replicate that. There would be some elements that some core elements that you would have to pick up from the SDKs and the internal libraries and code them onto Rust. Well, you can also find a Web3 way of doing this. And if you can, that is also acceptable. You don't have to actually do the bidirectional payment channel, everything at the contract level. But it would, of course, require some elements of contract. But if you can do it through Web3 as well, I think it should be an acceptable submission. Week 4, all about creators, NFTs, right? So we have, you have the minting machine, the candy machine example on Solana, very straightforward, using Metaplex, it's quite easy. You have create and burn your NFT using Web3 only. And the exercise involves you to create an NFT marketplace with dynamically changing data. It's up to you as to how you are facilitating the dynamic change of metadata. It could be the metadata itself that is changing, or it could be that the SVG of that particular NFT changes. So it's up to you. You feel free to be creative at this point and build something that you think could be cool. For week 5 and week 6, the exercises are yet to come in, but they should be here soon. Of course, week 5 DeFi, all about cryptocurrencies, your tokens, and you work with different quests that are around wallets, that are around cryptocurrencies, right? Now, one of the things that I would, of course, as you have to work on your projects, right, going forward, by week 5, when you come to DeFi, you should have ideally picked your project domain. You should have picked what and all you want to build and what are the different components. If your project has tokenomics embedded in it, by week 5, you should start thinking about the tokenomics of your project as well, right? Of course, you have some time to build your project going forward, but starting to think about how, when we think about currencies or other cryptocurrencies and tokens, this is a good segue for you to think about the tokenomics, the tokens, and how that would come into play for your project, right? Whatever you're going to be building. Week 6 is going to be advanced tutorials, advanced dApps. How do you stake? How do you build a messaging app, a decentralized identity verification system? How do you build a mail dApp or a blog dApp? So at this point in time, or by this point in time, you're in a space where you're able to figure out what could be some potential use cases where you could use Solana, right? Until week 4, it's more of a learning journey. You're just touching different domains, or rather until week 5, you're just touching upon different domains and seeing how Solana can be plugged in, or how it can be, how you can create certain things in these domains using Solana. But by week 6, you are at a place where you are kind of being able to get the bigger picture in terms of what how your app in itself could provide utility for the people who are in this space, right? Or who are looking to getting into the crypto space. It could be a domain that you could specifically think of, or it could be like it could be something for the community perspective, or it could be something that you could build to onboard new crypto folks into the ecosystem, right? So at this point in time, you are really starting to think about what is the utility that your application is providing, which is extremely important, instead of just building something and throwing it out there, right? So that's the expectation. And of course, there are a lot of reference reading materials. There is also a lot of discussion happening at Questbook Discord. A lot of people who are solving the quest, probably some problems that you are facing, they might have faced those problems and come up with solutions and things like that. So you can definitely find that information on the Questbook Discord. I will share that with the team so they can pass it on. And yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. There are going to be some new content. There is going to be some new content coming up soon. We are working with a couple of creators to set up more advanced content, so that will be updated on the platform. So if you do feel hungry for more, there is more coming up, don't worry. And last but not the least, yeah, best of luck to everybody who is going to be a part of this fellowship. It's going to be a rigorous couple of weeks, but I think given the quality of the folks, given that I know that I know some of you, or some of the names sound familiar, and given that you have been chosen, I'm sure you're able to pull through, and there is always a lot of support from our end, from Questbook end, to help you navigate wherever you kind of come across any issues. All right, thanks everyone, and best of luck.